You've been praised your entire life for being independent, low maintenance, easy to be around, not clingy. But independence can be the most sophisticated form of self-protection ever constructed. And the people who have mastered it rarely know they're running from anything at all. High-functioning avoidants look emotionally healthy from the outside, charming, capable, present. But underneath that composure is a system so carefully engineered that it keeps everyone at exactly the right distance. Close enough to not feel lonely, but never close enough to actually hurt them. And there's something I'm going to reveal later in this video, a specific moment in every avoidance history where this blueprint was installed. A point where a child's nervous system made a quiet decision that has been running ever since, shaping every relationship that followed. By the time we reach it, everything else will suddenly make sense. If you've ever built real connections, only to feel yourself pulling away the moment they could become something lasting. If you've ever wondered why closeness feels like a trap, stay until the very end. This video was made for you. High-functioning avoidance looks healthy, but it is one of the most misunderstood and quietly devastating patterns in modern relationships. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what it looks like, where it comes from, and what it's costing you. Let's begin. There's a particular type of person you either know very well, or you are. They have good friends, a full social life, an easy laugh, successful, thoughtful, emotionally intelligent. When you're in pain, they know exactly what to say. They seem in every external measure to have it completely together, but there's something strange about them. No matter how long you've known them, there's a layer you simply cannot reach. They share information about their life, but rarely their interior world. They're warm in groups, but somehow cooler in one-on-one moments that get too personal. Relationships form and then plateau. Romance almost happens, and then somehow doesn't. People leave their lives more often than expected. What you're seeing is a defense strategy so polished and so socially acceptable that it's nearly indistinguishable from genuine emotional health. As Gabor Mate, physician and trauma researcher, observed, the attempt to escape from pain is what creates more pain. The avoidant has found a way to escape, but the escape itself has become the wound. The most defended people often look like the most together people. What makes this so extraordinarily complex is that the foundation of this pattern was not built in adulthood. It was built far earlier, in a place most people never think to look. Understanding that origin changes everything, and the next sign takes us directly there. Stop and think about this for a second, because the origin of this pattern is not what most people expect. Think about a child who needed to be held, seen, and soothed, and what happened when that need was not reliably met. Not through cruelty necessarily, but through a parent who was physically present and emotionally unavailable, caring but who couldn't sit with their child's distress, who loved them but communicated in small and repeated ways. Don't need so much. Be easy, don't make this complicated. Developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth, in her groundbreaking strange situation studies, identified a group of children who had learned something profound. Dating people is unsafe because people will eventually disappoint. These children were labeled avoidantly attached, and they didn't look distressed when their parent left the room. They looked fine, eerily, unsettlingly fine. But beneath that calm exterior, their cortisol levels spiked just as high as every other child. They had learned to suppress the outward expression of need, not the need itself. The longing went underground, and underground is precisely where it has lived ever since. Suppressed need becomes strategy, and that strategy follows a person all the way into their adult relationships, their friendships, every space where vulnerability might be required. Now that you understand where this originates, hit like and subscribe to keep exploring the depths of your psyche with me. There's so much more to uncover here, and the next sign reveals something that catches almost everyone off guard. How the trait the avoidant is most admired for is actually a core part of the defense system. If you thought the first sign was surprising, this next one catches people even more off guard, because the trait it describes is one most people deeply admire. Here's something that tends to genuinely shock people. Avoidants are frequently the most charming, engaging, and socially magnetic people in any room. They are interesting. They ask good questions. They make people feel genuinely seen. And that is precisely why their avoidance is so difficult to detect. The high-functioning avoidant has developed extraordinary social intelligence, but largely in service of a very specific purpose. They know how to create the impression of intimacy without actually providing it. They share stories that appear vulnerable but are carefully edited. They listen deeply, which earns trust, while revealing very little themselves. They are masters of proximity without actual presence. Psychologist Philip Shaver, one of the leading researchers on adult attachment, noted that avoidants become highly skilled at what he called deactivating strategies, behaviors that quietly suppress closeness, changing the subject when things get too personal, intellectualizing emotions instead of feeling them, becoming inexplicably busy the moment a relationship begins to deepen. Charm is the moat. It lets people approach the castle while keeping them far from what's actually inside. The cruelest part, the avoidant often genuinely wants connection. This is not deliberate deception. The system runs entirely without their conscious permission. And the next sign shows exactly what this looks like in the practical, everyday texture of someone's life. Now this one hides in the most celebrated, even envied parts of the avoidant's life. So pay close attention. If you've ever canceled plans the moment someone was getting too close, buried yourself in work right when a relationship was becoming serious, or filled every open space in your calendar so there's genuinely no room for emotional depth, this sign is for you. High-functioning avoidants are often extraordinarily productive people, and it is not a coincidence. Busyness is one of the most socially acceptable forms of emotional distance that exists. Nobody questions the person who's always working. Nobody labels them avoidant for having full days and serious ambitions. Productivity is celebrated, even envied, but sometimes the busiest people are the ones most afraid of stillness. Because stillness creates space for feelings that have been strategically exiled from awareness. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote something that cuts to the very heart of this. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. For the avoidant, the inverse is also true. They can sit alone just fine. What they cannot bear is sitting quietly with another person who might truly see them. Busyness also provides a ready-made social excuse, not unavailable, just important right now. The relationship can wait. Something always needs doing first. But there's a sign that goes even deeper than this. One that reveals exactly how avoidants handle the one thing that threatens their entire system the most: real closeness, and the possibility of it becoming permanent. What I'm about to describe sounds at first like it could be love, which is exactly what makes it so painful. Forget everything you think you know about people who, quote, fear commitment, because what I'm about to describe is far more subtle and far more heartbreaking than simply not wanting to get married. The high-functioning avoidant excels at what therapists call the almost relationship. They can be intensely present, romantic, and emotionally engaged in the early stages of connection, because early-stage romance is genuinely safe. There's no real dependency yet. The potential is exciting, the risk is low, and they can invest fully because they're still in control. But the moment the relationship shifts from potential to reality, the moment someone genuinely depends on them, or they begin to genuinely depend on someone else, something shifts beneath the surface. The closer you get, the more the exit strategy quietly activates. A subtle flaw appears. A moment of neediness becomes a deal breaker. Suddenly, the person who seemed almost perfect has a problem they can't quite get past. Attachment researcher Stan Tatkin calls this the lure and the trap. The avoidant unconsciously lures connection, then experiences it as a trap, not consciously, not cruelly, but systematically. They fall, they feel, and then quietly they engineer a reason to leave, or they stay and make leaving inevitable for the other person. How does this become a cycle that repeats across every single relationship? The answer is far darker than it first appears. Here's where it gets truly disturbing, and I don't use that word lightly. The high-functioning avoidant doesn't just avoid closeness. They often unconsciously engineer situations that destroy it, and then use those very situations as evidence that keeping their distance was the right call all along. Psychologists call this the confirmation loop. The avoidant expects to be hurt, so they withhold vulnerability. Their partner, feeling shut out, becomes anxious or demanding. The avoidant interprets this anxiety as proof the relationship is simply too much. They pull away further. The partner escalates. Eventually, the relationship ends, and the avoidant quietly records this as confirmation. Relationships fall apart. People can't be trusted. It's safer to stay independent. The wound creates the defense. The defense recreates the wound. As Carl Jung once warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. For the avoidant, this cycle doesn't feel like a repeating pattern. It feels like reality, like just what happens when you let people in. And that is exactly how unconscious systems maintain themselves. They disguise cause as consequence, so the person living it never sees the loop. You protect yourself from pain by endlessly recreating the very pain you are running from. But here's what makes this truly resistant to change. It's not just a habit of thought. The next sign reveals why this pattern lives somewhere far deeper than the mind, somewhere that makes awareness alone almost useless. Let me pause here because this next part fundamentally changes everything we've been talking about. We've been describing avoidance as a psychological pattern. Thoughts, behaviors, defenses. But the avoidant nervous system runs far deeper than thought. It runs in the body itself. Neuroscientist Stephen Porges, through his polyvagal theory, demonstrated that the autonomic nervous system has its own intelligence, and that for people with avoidant attachment, intimacy doesn't just feel emotionally uncomfortable. It feels physically threatening. The nervous system registers closeness as danger and mobilizes a response. Tension in the chest, a quiet urge to create distance, a low-grade restlessness that only fully dissipates when alone. This is precisely why simply trying harder rarely works. The avoidant is not making a conscious choice to stay distant. Their body is sending real alarm signals, and the body always overrides the reasoning mind. Have you ever felt inexplicably irritated with someone the moment they began needing something from you? Not real anger, exactly, just a sudden desire to be anywhere else. That irritation is not about them. It is your nervous system executing its exit protocol. The body learned closeness equals vulnerability equals eventual pain, and what the body has learned, the body will defend against, regardless of what the mind consciously wants or understands. Insight alone cannot override a nervous system in alarm, so it holds all of this in place day to day. The stories, that is the next sign, and perhaps the most self-sealing mechanism of all. Here's where it becomes the deepest, the layer of this pattern that makes it almost completely immune to outside challenge. The high-functioning avoidant is extraordinarily skilled at narrating their own independence in ways that sound not just reasonable, but genuinely healthy. I just value my space. I haven't found the right person yet. Relationships are complicated. I'm simply better alone. I don't need much from people. These aren't lies. They feel profoundly true from the inside, but they are what therapists call defensive narratives, stories that rationalize the avoidance without ever actually examining it. They make complete internal sense, and because they sound so measured, so composed, nobody, not friends, not therapists, sometimes not even the avoidant themselves, ever thinks to challenge them. Researcher Mario Mikulincer found that avoidants consistently underreport distress in close relationships. They're not being dishonest. Their self-narrative has literally learned to edit out the longing, the quiet grief when relationships end, the moments of genuine need they've trained themselves not to register consciously. We see what we need to see in order to survive. The story protects you, but only from yourself. From the outside, every person who has truly cared about you has been able to see exactly what's happening, and what is all of this actually costing. The next segment holds the answer I've been building toward this entire time, and it will be the one that lands hardest. If you've stayed this long, stay with me through this one, because this is the part that matters most of all. High-functioning avoidants are often deeply lonely, not the loneliness of being isolated, they have people around them, but the loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't really know them. The loneliness of surfaces, of performances, of being consistently admired and never truly seen. Studies on adult attachment consistently show that avoidants report lower relationship satisfaction over time. Not because their relationships are objectively worse, but because they never allow them to become what they could be. They live in a perpetual almost connected, almost loved, almost known. And here is the cruelest irony at the center of all of this. The system designed to prevent pain creates a permanent low-grade pain that never fully heals. A life of beautiful surfaces and private hollowness. Moments of genuine connection that flicker and then are managed away before they can take root. Invisible. You can engineer a life completely free of vulnerability and full of quiet, unnamed loss. As the poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act, just once, with beauty and courage." The dragon was never the person trying to get close. It was always the fear of what happens if you allow them to stay. If this is landing close to home, comment avoidance seen below. Naming it is the first step toward anything different. And if you know someone living behind this invisible wall right now, share this with them immediately. Seeing this clearly could be the very first thing that starts to change something real for them. And what can actually be done about all of this? The answer, including the origin I promised you at the very beginning, is what comes next. And now we're here, at the place I promised to take you from the very beginning of this video. The specific moment where the blueprint was installed. Here is what it actually looks like. For most avoidants, it was not a dramatic, singular trauma. It was something far subtler. A parent who was physically present but emotionally unavailable, who cared deeply but who couldn't tolerate their child's emotional distress, who loved them, genuinely, but communicated in small and repeated ways. Don't need so much. Be easy. Don't make this complicated for me. The wound is often silence. The child adapted brilliantly. They became easy, low maintenance, self-sufficient. They stopped visibly needing. And in doing so, they learned to earn love by appearing not to require it. That adaptation was survival-level genius, and it became the cage they've been living in ever since. Healing is not about becoming a fundamentally different person. It is about learning what that child's nervous system never got to learn. That closeness can be safe, and that needing someone is not weakness. It is what being human actually requires. Begins by naming the pattern, then noticing it in real time. In the chest tightening, the sudden urge toward distance, the story that reliably appears right on cue, then slowly, one moment at a time, choosing to stay anyway. Stay when discomfort tells you to run. Stay when vulnerability feels like exposure. Stay long enough to be actually known by someone. Everything the high-functioning avoidant has built is living proof that they are capable of extraordinarily hard things. The hardest thing left is the simplest, letting one person close enough to matter. You've just seen the full anatomy of high-functioning avoidance. And if something in this video landed close to home, I want you to sit with that, not with shame, with curiosity. Patterns this deep were not formed by weakness. They were formed by intelligence, by a child doing the only thing available to them to stay emotionally safe in a world that didn't always feel safe. The question now is not whether you've been avoiding intimacy. The question is, what has it cost you? Every relationship that never became what it could have been. Every person who eventually stopped trying to reach you. Every moment of genuine connection that was carefully managed away before it could hurt or before it could heal. You built the wall, which means you also carry the capacity to open the door. As Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, reminds us, trauma is not what happens to you. It is what happens inside you as a result of what happened to you. The wound was real, the adaptation was necessary, and healing is also completely real. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, prove it. Comment avoidant seen below. Let that small act of visibility be your first step away from hiding. You are not alone in this pattern, and truly recognizing it, not just intellectually but feeling it, is where everything begins to change. Welcome to the Psyche Project.